calls. I could make more phone calls. I hated 10 o'clock at night, 9 o'clock at night where I couldn't make any phone calls. I hated it 7 o'clock in the morning. As soon as 8 o'clock came, I was on that phone. By the way, how hard is it to make a phone call when you got a Diet Coke there, a cup of coffee, air conditioning, heated room? You're not out in the elements. You're not sweating. And you have to give a prepared presentation that you've done a zillion times. Hello, Tony. My name is Bill Orender. You and I have a mutual friend in Joe Barron. Joe said you're one of the most ambitious people he knows. Is that true? Oh, wonderful. Joe said you're so ambitious, you definitely would like to talk to me. Our company is expanding an area, and we're looking for people like that on a part-time basis. We start them out part-time. Doesn't have to be that way. Make $500, $1,500 a month part-time. And if you like it, you go full-time, make between $150,000 to $100,000 a year to up. And I'd like to sit down and talk to you because Joe said you're so ambitious that you definitely would give me 5 to 10 minutes to show you what we can do. Now, is tomorrow or Wednesday a better day? Oh, is 2 o'clock or 3 o'clock better? Oh, we'll see you then. Joe said you're exactly what you're going to do. You'd have an appointment. That's what Joe said. Thank you very much. Hello, Phyllis. My name is Bill Orender. You and I have a mutual friend in Martin. Martin says you're so ambitious that you definitely like to talk to me. Hello, Horace. My name is Bill Orender. You and I have a mutual friend in Ray Pittman. Ray said, hello, Austin. You and I have a mutual friend in Landon. Landon said, how did I get wealthy? Wow. It's like shooting a basket, right? Keep shooting. You'll get better at it. And I was drinking a Diet Coke in an air-conditioned and heated room with my feet up. And when I was at home, I was watching a ball game with the sound off. Oh, this is hard. This is hysterical. I'm in hysterics. This is the greatest thing in the world. And I made $180,000 my first full year in Dallas, Texas. Doing exactly what I just shared you. Phone call after phone call after phone call after phone call. All right. Well, thank you very much for being on, everybody. I don't know why I'm thanking you. You should be thanking us, right, for all being on it together. And we have one big mind now. You know, when you have a mastermind, you have a big mind. And we've attracted into our mastermind today, Austin and Landon. And Austin, why don't you share with us your new RVP promotion, who he is, what his background is, and how he defied the normal mindset of most people, how he went out, the numbers he went out, how you encouraged him, directed him, guided him, and how was his fellowship? Because everyone's a follower, and the degree of fellowship that you come into tells you how high you're going to rise one day when people start following you. So Austin Durrett, congratulations on the new RVP promotion. Congratulations, Landon Lambert. And you're going to stun people today, aren't you, Austin? Go ahead, Austin.
We are. That's the goal, Mr. Orender. Hey, before anything, as always, I am humbled. I am grateful just for your leadership and mentorship and just a chance to speak on these calls. You know, I've said this for years, and I'll always say this. I've been plugged into Century Club I've been in Dallas 10 years. And I got plugged in right away. And here's what's crazy, Mr. Orender, just the mind shift. When I first started plugging in, I moved to Dallas. I was brand new full-time person, and I was a sales guy. I mean, I was your typical sales guy. And I've got it in this, Mr. Orender, and forgive me. I need to ask for public forgiveness. I remember one day before I was, again, listen, I'm a newbie in the business, not understanding the power of your message, Mr. Orender, Art Williams' message, the power of thinking right. And I remember telling the guy in the Dallas office, man, I can't go to that meeting y'all go to do today. Like, I got to make money. And I look back now, I'm like, man, this meeting, this head fixing session, I need this. I've been here now again, 10 years. And every week I'm going, I've got to get to Mr. Orender so I get my head fixed for the week. It's a constant self-improvement program. So, but again, I'll thank you so much for your opportunity. Yeah. And again, I'm excited and I'm grateful for Landon. Landon's our third RVP. We feel good about our fourth come this next month or so, but good things happening. And I know people, we've been fortunate enough now that we've had our promotion, people call me, what are you doing? I'm like, listen, you're talking to the wrong person. I've got incredible RVPs. I've got Lisa Purvis on the call, and I see her, and And our RVPs just bought off to your system, Mr. Render, to the A.L. Williams system to doing it right. But to give you a background on Landon, and again, I want to even have him share some of his story. Landon's been with us for 3 years now. And I'm actually going to let Landon tell his background because it is powerful. Because so many times I feel like, so much what I believe is recruiting. People recruit down so much, and I think that's a sign of confidence. I think the quality of people you recruit is really a reflection of your confidence, your self-belief in Primerica and yourself, things like that. And Landon had a successful corporate background. And Landon was the guy that was willing to be crazy. Because if you know Landon's story, again, what you were at, 180, Landon? About 180 grand a year?
Yeah.
180 corporate sales. And, you hear people going, well, I was a teacher and a coach making 40 grand a year, and I left to pursue business. And even sometimes like, well, you're pursuing business, but you got a guy that's successful in corporate sales, leaving to take a step back, willing to take a step back to take, 1,000 steps forward. You're really going to get the crazy boat. You're really going to get the crazy train. What's wrong with you? Why would you leave that position? And why would you do what you're doing? And so, but Landon's been here for 3 years. And I want to hit on one key, and then I want to pass over to Landon and have him sort of share a story. Here's the benefit of me finding Landon and Landon finding us. 3 years ago, and I've told this story 100 times, Mr. Render, it was a defining moment of my business. And again, I look back and I'm thankful for you. I sat in your office 3.5 years ago and heard you talk, and I was planning on taking 25 people the next day to, or a couple days later to San Antonio for some big builder school. And I heard you say, hey, at some point, y'all got to stop going to all these dang schools. At some point, you've got to, you referenced Mike Tuttle, and you were making the same point. You got to clear the clutter. Stop listening to so many different voices. And I left that meeting that day going, man, that's exactly what I'm doing. I'm trying to piece everybody's messages together and pull this guy from this message, pull this piece from this message. And well, this guy says this, instead of saying there's only one real message, the Art Williams message. And Mr. Orender follows that message. So then I shall follow Mr. Orender, and I'll follow Art. We called an emergency cancellation with my team going to San Antonio. We canceled the trip. And instead, 2 days later, we went and met at one of our guys' house, Tanner Hawkins. And we had, I think, probably 15, 20 people in that meeting. And all we did it was called A.L. Williams Weekend. And I rebranded our hierarchy. I rebranded our focus. It was, as Art Williams says, your personal management philosophy. And I decided to align my personal management philosophy with what Art Williams spoke. And so I tell you that story because that was right around the time I recruited Landon. And that actually may have been one of his first meetings. So Landon went there. And then a few weeks later, we actually came to your home, Mr. Render. You did I think it was a multiples weekend or multiple school at your home that weekend. We had an invitation, came to your home. So Landon's first few exposures of Primerica were the A. Williams principles. And it's like the baby duck syndrome, right? Whatever you see first, what you're going to follow, what you're going to do. And so Landon, we just show just sort of that. I mean, share a few minutes of your first exposure to Primerica and the message and what you did with that. So.
Yeah. So, first off, Mr. Orender, thanks so much for letting me talk on your call. I listen to you and your audios on SoundCloud like crazy. So I know you, but you don't know me very well, right? So, but thanks so much for letting me speak on your call. Man, with that said, coming into the business, I only really heard the philosophy of what Art Williams teaches because Austin Durrett shifted his business when I first came into Primerica, so the principles of the multiples, three who get three, driving people for deep, working in qualified markets. That's all I've ever understood in being in Primerica. My first year I was part-time, and a lot of my first year was just learning, and I never missed a meeting. I've never missed one of our op meetings, or I've always shifted stuff around to make sure that me and my wife Emily, we've always been plugged in. And Austin told me don't ever miss a meeting, so we've never really missed anything like that. But the real thing that attracted me to Primerica was 15, 10, 5, 2, 1, 1. When I understood that I could build generational wealth, it changed my whole perspective. And when I was at IBM, I was making good money. I was just a corporate robot though. I thought that I was making good money. It's relative to what, right? If Bill Orender was on my salary that I had at IBM, it's probably not great money for him, right? So But I just understood when I met Austin and understood the Primerica system, I realized I was in the wrong vehicle. I worked hard at IBM for 10 years to get to where I was, but that vehicle was never going to be able to give me residuals, and I was never going to be able to have ownership over a business. I was always going to be in the sales world, and I would have sold for the next 40 years. So the Primerica system of being able to, develop and push RVPs out is the whole reason that I ended up coming into Primerica,
Hey, and I want to hit on something you said, Landon, because and again, I know this is again self-admitted. I remember years ago sitting this call and hearing 15, 10, 5, 2, 1, 1. Like, I didn't know what that is. That's the first thing I'd encourage you guys to start with that. Find out what those numbers are. I'm going to circle back around that later because Landon writes that every single day. He writes that down. Well, so I want to lead into that one point. When I met Landon, I actually cold prospected Landon. I tell people all the time, cold prospect is not an effective way to build a business, but it's more effective than no prospecting. And my mindset was, I don't care where I am. I've got to be, Mr. Orender went through his interview call, which was really impressive, by the way. But listen, I mastered Steam. I mastered cold prospecting. I mastered client referrals. I mastered any type of prospecting I could do. I did it. Why? Because I knew my job, Austin Rhett's focus was growing and building a distribution sales force. That was my example. Now, I knew the purpose of doing that when he done this a second, Landon, was because I wanted RVPs at RVPs at RVPs, right? And so one thing that when it came to our initial meeting, Landon and I connected. I didn't sit down with Landon. We met at a coffee shop. I didn't sit down with Landon and push. And again, retract this if you quit. If this is not right, Landon, feel free to speak up. But I didn't sit down and say, listen, this is a chance to come in and sell life insurance and make an extra $500 a month. I talked about my vision. I said, hey, this is where I'm going. This is what I want to do. And for me, it was, I want to be able to fund different ministries. I want to have businesses self-sustain and run themselves. I think that, and I don't even know, Landon, if you remember how much of the actual Primerica we talked about the first meeting. I think we talked about the cash flow quadrant. In the very first, that's actually a good point. I want to bring up signs you look for. These are things you look for and you go, okay, that's a guy that I can build a business with. Landon, remember the first time we met down, I asked you about your goals. Remember what you told me?
Yeah. So I had read I didn't read Success is Not an Accident at that point, but in the book, Success is Not an Accident, they talk about a Harvard study that was done. And I had read the Harvard study. So I realized at that point in my life that I needed to be writing my goals every day. That was before I even got to Primerica. So I had been writing my goals for 2 years up until I got into Primerica. But at the end of our conversation, the first time me and Austin met, I shared my 5 goals with him. And I'm like, this is what I'm trying to accomplish. And it was a spiritual goal. I had just got married. So as far as just being a good husband and having a good marriage, and then a health goal, and then I had 2 financial goals. And Austin, he slow played me the first time we met. He goes, "Oh man, these are great goals, man. I don't really know how you'd accomplish them, but and he played that. Unfortunately, I don't have any more time to meet right now." He ended up leaving. And then when we met and I learned more about this system, I'm like, you know exactly how to help me accomplish my goals.
Well, Landon, remember, and I forgive me, it's been so long, the numbers, wasn't it? You had a goal to make $10,000 a month residual income?
I wanted 10,000 residual. And at that point, my first milestone was I wanted to have $100,000 in the bank within 2 years when I was writing that.
So I want to throw this out there, guys. Think about this. If you're having a conversation with somebody, if I sit with Landon Lambert and say, listen, you come here and you can go recruit 3 agents and have them write 5 or 10 sales a month. Guys, listen, what I feel like we're preached to in a lot of the Primerica business model is just go get a couple people that write a couple sales a month. That's not going to sell Landon Lambert. Makes sense? I'm talking to Landon Lambert about open offices, right? And so having franchises that have franchises that have VPs that have VPs that have VPs. And so selling him the dream of where I wanted to go, but also how he could do the same thing and hit those goals he had, right? So Mr. Orender, you want to jump in at all? I've got some more stuff for sure, but like I said, feel free to we
Well,
welcome you,
I
obviously.
think it's we got to make some points on what you just said. People, you look for people who are looking for you, and it's so many times the question is, what do you do with somebody who I don't know? You just tell them you told them your story, and your story fit him, and so Austin, you didn't change him, you didn't corral him, you didn't convince him. He was one of those people you told a story to that are out there by the thousands looking for us, isn't it? So that's got to be your thought process, doesn't it? Isn't it, Austin?
Absolutely, Mr. Render. You know, and I heard the message preached for years, but you don't really get into experience it. We try to do so much. Forgive me, guys. We do so much. Like, you know, I've got to have a better system. I've got to better do a job developing people. I'm like, I didn't develop Landon Lambert. I just talked to enough dang people that I found Landon Lambert. And you take Landon Lambert, just the guy that thinks the way he thinks, he has the mindset he has, and I exposed him. All I did was expose him. I wish I didn't really teach him. I sure as I didn't train him. I exposed him to a system that would help him hit these goals, and then let him run. Guys, that's the thing. My 3 VPs, it's the same thing, same story. And after you find a couple guys, you start going, dang, maybe I'm not as relevant and important in this whole thing as I think I am, which is a good thing, right?
Yeah,
like praise God for the power of the system. I just got to find the right people. And when I found guys like Landon, when I found guys like Elisa Purvis, and I found like Timmons, I started going, man, it really is not up to me to be the perfect trainer. It's up to me, and this is my focus. It's up to me to make sure my base shop keeps recruiting a minimum of 30 people a month. If I'm recruiting 30 people a month, I'm going to find some guys in there that after a quarter to, I'm going to find some VPs that just pop their head up, and I'm just going to give them the resource. Say, listen, this is a system. Go run your play. So many times we almost start beating ourselves up, guys, going, man, I've just got to get better at developing people. And I learned I don't have to get better at developing people. I just got to keep plugging more people in the system, and the right people will stick their head up and they'll run the play.
Well, that's true, Austin. And Landon, talk about that for a second, and how you've got to find ripe people, RIPE, that are wanting what we've got. Again, our job is to visit with people to see if they're what we're looking for. And that's why you got to get names at the interview, not because you can maybe make that person successful. I want to interview Landon to get the names so I can get the names of the people. And in that mix is a Landon. Instead of, I tell people this, we should not get names and work downline for people. We should get the names from people. And in that mix, four who get four, you're going to find a Landon. So talk about Landon and how your mindset was established by Austin because you had the mindset coming in.
Yeah, I think so often people that work inside of Primerica think it's a presentation.
Right.
It has nothing to do with the presentation. One of the things that after meeting with Austin and that I started to realize was like most, and I've done it too, most people think, oh, well, if I just get more names and numbers, the key is getting names and numbers of warm market individuals because it's a warm market business. And if you can get driving 4 deep through the warm market, you're going to find a stud or somebody that it's not, they're already going to have all the fundamentals. It's just about making sure that they get their mindset right, because they need to, sometimes like me, I had to unlearn what I learned in the corporate world to relearn what to do inside of, Primerica. So I think it's so key when we're going out and we're searching to find the right individuals to stay in the warm market, because so often we want to go and we want to do exactly what you're talking about, Mr. Orender, but we want to do it in the cold market because it's easier to make a cold market call than it is to talk to somebody in the warm market.
So Landon, I know you left and became an RVP, and you surpassed the conventional thinking of the company and you went out at what numbers did you go out?
We did 30 by 30. So
You went out as a RL doing 30 by 30. Now, what prompted you, what kind of leadership and what kind of fellowship did you have to go out that strong, and why did you choose to, and why would you recommend other people strive higher than what the convention says people should?
yeah, so one thing is I had to change my mindset, which Shanika Turner's helped so much with this, but just about her story as far as when she just said, I'm going to double digit recruit. And at some point I just said, I'm going to double digit recruit. And I had to restructure my mindset to go out and double digit, which we started to do, me and some key guys that I started to run with. And I started with, well, let me get 10. Well, Zoom helped where now it's 10, really 20 is the new 10 with the Zoom era, because you can just meet people so quick and you don't have to drive around and do appointments anymore. So 20 is really the new 10. But in my head, I had to restructure after talking to Austin that to really build a business that's spitting out regional vice presidents, new agencies, you got to do about 30. So my mindset was, I need to double digit recruit. Then when we started utilizing Zoom more, it was, okay, I need to make sure that I'm doing 20. And then it just, at some point, it wasn't anything I did. It's just the multiples took over, where now we rolled into doing 30. And that was me and my team, our new mindset was just, okay, we go out and we do 30. So.
Well, Landon, did you find that you were thinking too much when you started just accepting the numbers and all? It started working. Talk about that, Landon.
Yeah, I think it just goes back to me personally. One is I was self-employed working inside of the business owner or business ownership system, which is the A.O. Williams system. But I was self-employed and I thought, okay, I need to go do everything on my own. So I would overthink things in terms of, okay, I got to have the right presentation, or maybe it's something that I'm doing. When I was overthinking things, it's not so much as what I was doing. It's so much of just really finding the right people, building through them, and instilling the right leadership principles, which are the pushing people up principles that Art Williams talks about. But when I first started, I had to unlearn a lot of things because I had to get out of my own way because I overthought everything.
Hey, I want to hit on that, Mr. Orender?
Go ahead.
Because I want to hit on something. He talked about he had to unlearn stuff, and he obviously coming from the corporate world, but what's the new programming, right? You go from one way to new programming. That's one thing. I had to become unapologetic about guiding my people specific directions. And what I mean is, I went through a season where I had spent so much time like, man, I know what this guy does. This guy's in Vegas, he does this. This guy's in California, he does this. Man, these guys are superstars. This guy's in Florida, man, he's a real deal. He recruits like this. And man, up north, this guy does. And I had so many dang things in my head. Well, I wouldn't say I admit it, but I almost took pride in like, no, I know how these people in this company operate. Well, when I started pulling my guys and said, I was unapologetic saying, stop listening to those dang people. Don't. You know what you need to listen to? You need to listen to Art Williams and the people that hit their message line up with his philosophy. And for me, again, my leadership, Josh Huffman, Mike Tuttle, and Bill Orender. And I would just say, listen, point to another Tony Stevens. There's certain guys that, okay, these messages line up very similar. Shanika, these messages line up very similar with what Art Williams preaches. And I would tell my guys, listen to these people. And I always say, here's the beauty of it. We have the ultimate trump card. If anybody says, well, but this guy says do like this, I go, that's great. His pile is not as big as Art Williams. And Art Williams says do it this way. We have the ultimate trump card every time. And so I think a big part of it, and the reason I'm bringing this up, I think a big part of that reprogramming is, guys, so many times we want to reprogram ourselves, our thinking, but you need to make sure your reprogramming is the right kind of thinking also. Because we can go from crappy thinking to crappy thinking. Don't think it's like there are specific messages we had to find out. And I wanted to put the right message on people's head because I knew if I gave them the right message, they could run the play. Again, it didn't matter. And Bill Orender, you always says, Mr. Orender, and I always tell my guys, if what I'm saying does not line up with Art Williams, do not listen to me. Don't listen to my message. Go grab this book right here. Oh, my virtual background wiped it out. Go grab Locker Room Notes. Go grab A.O. Williams' Way. Go read these books. These are the principles that he teaches. And that's the right kind of thinking. Get that right stuff in your head. And then again, once you give these people the resources, guys, man, let your winners run. One thing I said, and I can't remember a conversation, Landon. Landon was a few months in the business. And Landon, what was it? You were like, dude, I just don't think we'll ever disagree or ever argue. Remember, you know what I'm talking about?
Yeah, my naive self. Yeah.
Because he was, listen, Landon is so dang coachable. He has always been so dang coachable. I could tell Landon, here's what I believe. And Art Williams says in his book, Locker Room Notes, he says you have to go stand in traffic for 4 hours. If you stand in the middle of a busy highway, you'll get a recruit. He'd go, well, if Art Williams says it, I guess let's try it. We might as well. Well, so he was so coachable. I remember one day he made a comment. He goes, yeah, I don't think we'll ever butt heads. And I go, man, mark my words, Landon, at some point, you're not going to butt heads. Why? Because that's what leaders do. Make sense? I don't want to I'm not looking for yes men as my RVPs. I'm not looking for yes women. I'm looking for people that buy off these philosophies and they're willing to challenge me, even going, hey, that didn't line up with what Art Williams says. I know when I got people willing to challenge me to keep us on a consistent message, I know we're on the right path. And Landon was that guy. And Landon, again, my VPs, again, I could talk about Lisa Purvis. They challenge me. If I start veering off a little bit, they go, whoa, make sure this is what Art Williams says. I'm like, yeah, you're right. Let's do that. So I think a big part, I didn't mean to go on there too long, but make sure you're reprogramming your head the right way. Because I reprogrammed my head for years and years and years and years to the wrong message over and over and over and over.
Thank you, Austin. I got a quote from Henry Thoreau. It says, as long as a man is standing in his own way, everything seems to be in his way. When I made up my mind, I don't want to do it my way. I don't want to reinvent the wheel. And so, Landon, talk about how your numbers exceeded most people who go RVP by double or triple, and how maybe you were trying to be dissuaded from doing those numbers by other well-meaning people, or what was your thinking? What part did Austin play in all this so that you're going to go out with outstanding numbers, but yet there's probably people that were challenging you, saying, Landon, if you're in my base shop, you'd be an RVP by now. Talk about that.
One thing is, and I heard you say this, Mr. Orender. I don't remember the exact quote. I have it written down, but you said a lot of people chase company incentives. If you will double-digit recruit for and do 20, I think it was 20 by 20 for 12 months straight, you'll never have to chase a company incentive ever again. And I've always followed that because Primerica puts all these incentives out. They have 135 or 130,000, 35,000 licensed agents. So they want to move their sales force to do specific things. And in these last 3 months, there's been a lot of incentives to win trips and win iPads and win all kinds of stuff. And I made the commitment that we weren't going to chase any incentives. So we didn't chase iPads. I didn't chase getting 15 directs to win a trip. I didn't chase any of that because I knew, and this is a conversation me and Austin have had, if I just stay true to staying in qualified markets, 3 who get 3, and driving people 4 deep, in the next year to 2 years, I'll never have to chase an incentive again because I'll win incentives as long as I'm, the rest of my life. So it's so easy in Primerica, especially with the scoreboard, right? To go, okay, well, I need to go out and I need to do this because I need to make sure that I fall in a specific place on a scoreboard, or I could have promoted 3 months ago. And I said, I'm not going to do any of that. I I listen to you, I listen to Austin Durrett, and I listen to Art Williams. And if it doesn't go through you guys, I won't do it. And I'd never heard Art Williams say you need to chase company incentives. And I never heard Art Williams say big base shop and stuff like that. He talked about RVPs who promote RVPs who promote RVPs. And the whole reason I got into Primerica was to build a cash flow, a net worth. And to do that, I have to do double-digit recruiting, 20 to 30 recruits a month over a consistent timeline to hit what I want my net worth to be. So I've just stayed true to that. And Austin helps keep my focus on that sometimes.
So Landon, if I ask people on this call, do you think you're coachable? Everybody would say, oh yeah, I'm coachable. And the reality is, if you're stuck where you are, you're not coachable. And you're doing it your own way. And every time I did it my own way, it cost me money. And Landon, talk about how most of people on this call are afraid to talk about the big picture of 15, 10, 5, 2, 1, 1, which is the compensation through 6 generations, 15%, 10%, 5, 2, 1, 1, and how they're afraid to show that to people because they think it turns them off. What do you think about that, Landon?
Yeah, I think people are scared that we look like multi-level marketing, but the vehicle of 15, 10, 5, 2, 1, 1 is the vehicle to become a cash millionaire. And there's, in terms of other businesses, if you owned a McDonald's, your whole focus is to own 2 McDonald's and then to own 3 McDonald's. But it's so hard when you're talking to somebody that is not a business owner to switch their mindset. So instead of saying, hey, I need to bring their mindset up to my level, we choose, because we don't want to look like one of those things, to drop down to their level. And it's the unfortunate part is the people, when you're talking to somebody, you could miss out on an Austin Durrett or a Bill Orender for not talking about those principles. But that's what got me sold on why I needed to leave IBM to come to Primerica. And every single person I worked with in the corporate world, all of them think it's crazy, but they don't understand it's not about getting paid right that second, right? You take the 180 grand, you'll never be a millionaire. But because I've let go of that, I understand that we will be cash millionaires. So, but so often we turn back from that conversation because we're scared that we look like a multi-level marketing or one of those things.
One thing we've said this all the time, Mr. Orender. We've said this before. So many people are afraid of turning people off. They'll never give themselves a chance to turn people on. And you have to look at it and go, man, like I miss out on these great people. Landon, do you have your daily planner in front of you, Landon?
Yeah.
So I'll hold, and you can barely see it, but oh my dang virtual background. I've got a box right here. He's got the same thing. Look at Landon's. 15 every single day, writing down. We have 10 first generation RVPs at 15%. That pays $15,000 a month. I have 30 second generation RVPs, 10%. I have 90 thirds, 5% of 270 seconds, 810. These are constant conversations going, okay, I can have the, and listen, if I've got a massive base shop, it's because I've got a lot of RVPs about to spit out. Makes sense? And so, but I'm sitting there going, well, I can do 100,000 through first, which is my objective. And I can do a $70,000 base shop and 30,000 through my other RVPs. And I'm gonna get a lot of company recognition. Man, I get fired up and be on stage and hold my MVP trophy. I'm all about that. Or I could have 10 first generation RVPs doing $10,000, $15,000 a month, doing my numbers. And to me, that's more stable. And Landon bought off on that. Landon bought off that message of like, listen, let's get a lot of RVPs. Art Williams says it, a whole lot of people doing little and a few people doing a lot. And it's just again, a message we bought off on, and understand people disagree. I've had people that Primerica tell me it's wrong. I've had people, but I had to plant my flag and say, listen, I understand you agree, you don't agree, I'm okay with that. This is our message, we're sticking to it. So.
Landon, thank you, Austin. By the way, the company, it's 1/3, 1/3, 1/3. The company pays about $1 billion a year in death claims plus. The company pays about $1 billion a year in compensation, and a company earns about $1 billion a year. That's $83 million a month. Well, whose hierarchy is it? Art Williams. Was Art Williams were here, he'd be making $83 million a month. Think about it that way. That's the system that he created for us. And Landon, if you'll talk about your wife and the partnership that is necessary, and how did Austin create that partnership with you and your wife so that you're building this and creating this together for each other and for your family?
Yeah, my wife is the fundamental piece behind our whole operation, right? What I think, actually, I don't think, I know, just from talking to so many people, we just play around with this thing, and it's what we're changing people's lives. I mean, just to go back on what you were saying, Mr. Orender, you know, Art Williams got paid the most because he paid the most death claims. He was paying the most death claims every single month. He was helping the most families. And when my wife talked to Austin Durrett, she was a foundational Dave Ramsey believer, and she believed in buy term invest the difference already, and she believed in we need to have life insurance, we need to do investments, and we had already been talking about that, but we had just gotten married when I met Austin. I mean, I met Austin the day before I got married to my wife. So it was, you know, God divinely put Austin in my path, you know. But when we went and met with Austin, and Emily, who's my wife, she started talking, and I remember we left, and she's like, man, what Primerica does is what I believe in. And when I realized, you know, that Emily was on board, that my wife was on board to do this, it gave me the confidence to go, this is the right thing to do. But I mean, it was just a big decision, you know. So I met with Austin a couple times, and really what Austin, what I realized was, you know, if you're a part-timer, you have to have a full-timer helping you build it. You have to. And I've heard you say that before, Bill. And when I realized that me and Emily were going to get the support system from Austin, we were buying into the relationship that Austin Durrett had developed with me and my wife. So me and Emily, it was an easy decision for us once we realized that, to know that this was going to be the direction we were moving forward. And then you tie that in with, you know, what we wanted to accomplish in terms of honoring Jesus. It all made sense to us. But Emily's the foundational piece behind Primerica, because we talk about being coachable. There's been times where I haven't been coachable, right? And Emily has helped me get on track with that stuff. So,
well, talk about Landon, your personal activity that was necessary as the root that showed the fruit, as Ian Prucker talked about weeks ago. Your root was working and keeping your head in the game. Instead, most people say, I'm going to help my people. I'm going to help my people. My people this, my people that. And the bottom line is they don't want to work. What was your root effort every week? What you were personally responsible for every month?
Personally responsible for 10 recruits. That's always been my philosophy. Art Williams says the RVP has to be the top recruiter. So when I was coming up to promote, in those few months, I realized I need to be the top recruiter in Austin's base shop. If I want to become a regional vice president, I need to be responsible for 10. But if somebody was in the base shop was creeping up on 10, I knew I needed to do the most and be responsible for. That doesn't mean that I was going out and getting 10 directs. It just means I was responsible for assisting with double-digit recruiting every single month, because Art Williams said the RVP is the top recruiter. So I realized if I want to be an RVP, I need to be the top recruiter. So, you know, and it all goes back to, if I'm recruiting the the right amount of people, it's going to help me accumulate the cash flow that I need to get the net worth I want. So I realized that the end goal was that recruiting is just, it made it easy. So.
Why did you want $100,000 put away when you met Austin? Where'd you get that figure? Why did you think that, and how do you think that helped you?
So this was something I was going to say, and I just because we passed talk, but you talked about what you have to fix on your mindset. Oh, Mr. Orender might have. Oh, there we go. And one of the things is Art Williams thought big. I thought small when I got into Primerica. And one of the things that you had talked about, Mr. Orender, is you had talked about that you wanted to be a cash millionaire. I think you said within a decade, maybe before you were 40. I can't remember exactly, but you said you want to be a cash millionaire. And Bo Adams told you that you were thinking too small. So my 100,000 was just me. That's just me thinking too small. But at that point, the vehicle I was in, even though I was making a lot of money in the corporate world, I could only see 100,000, right? So when I got into Primerica, I said, okay, I know that the vehicle can get to $1 million, but the only reason I ever wanted 100,000 or even to get to $1 million was to serve other people, right? That's I gave my life to Christ in 2015, and my whole focus has been what will honor God's kingdom. Now, with that said, I also, want to accumulate assets for myself as well. So my thought process was, if I can serve people and I can pass along generational wealth, that's what I want. It was just a matter of finding the proper vehicle to do that with. I didn't have the right drill bit to get my hole right. But yeah, my 100,000 was just it was really just an erroneous number because I was thinking too small at that point in my life.
Austin, would you talk about this for a second? Most people come to Primerica, they think this, and they want somebody to come in and recruit somebody who will think this. How has your big thinking changed and encouraged to recruit people who are wanting to make less than you and have, but you've got to be thinking bigger than the people you're trying to recruit. Most people recruit people who think bigger than them.
No, absolutely. And I think, again, so much of them, and I said this earlier today, or in a conversation, so much of it's tied to self-belief and self-confidence, things like that. Landon, I'm gonna answer this question, Mr. Render. What was one of the first few times we sat down, Landon, we talked about our income, and you were actually making more money than I was, right? What was the comment I made to you about how much money you're making?
Yeah, Austin goes, I think at that point, that year I had made 120. I think you made 122. I could be
okay.
wrong.
We were right around the same thing then.
130 or 140, something like that. And I was like, oh, well, I make 120. And you went, yeah, but our 120s are very different. And I remember going, wait, what do you mean? And he goes, well, I'm a business owner. You work for somebody. I was like, wait, what? And I didn't understand that, but I thought I knew business, but I had no clue,
So I think a big part of it, Mr. Render, is, man, like, believe in what you got. Like, so many people, we don't believe in how good this thing really is. So because of that, we cast our beliefs, we cast our confidence, we cast our small vision on people based on where we are right now. So when my business changed, when I started casting these guys, like, I don't care where I am right now. I know where we're going. Our new people go through a class we have called Core U, and our new people see our organization goals have 130 RVPs in the next 10 years. This is a message we're preaching. 130 RVP is like, do you want to cut of that pie? How much of that do you want? Because we're going to do some big things. Landon's numbers, the numbers he talked through, he talked about 10 first, 30 seconds, 90, 278, 10, 24, 30. That many RVPs, that'll spit off between $4 and $6 million bucks a year in just life insurance compensation. Think about that, guys. 4 and 6 million. That's just life insurance. We're in a company now where, you've got, I think close to 40% of income today is off of securities. You're talking about $10, $12 million a year. Well, if you want to catch big fish, you got to throw big bait. So many times we feel like we have to, we limit the people we recruit based on our beliefs. So many times you go, well, I'll throw this out there. People go, I don't know if Landon is, I don't want him to go through what I went through. Well, I want Landon to go through what I went through. Makes sense? I want him to go through the struggles and the battles, and I just want him to be a level up than where I was. Art Williams said it needs to be always be better for the newest person. I want my people to go through struggles. It says in this book right here, you find out about people when you see they take their own losses. So I want to see my people go through some losses and see how they respond. But I know I'm casting them going, hey, listen, if it takes you 4.5 years to go RVP, it took me 4.5 years to get 100 grand. If it takes you 4.5 years to go RVP and make 100 grand, we have made a mistake. We have broken this incredible system. If it took me, and again, I'm embarrassed to say this because I know what the system provides, what it offers. It's taken me 10 years to get to SVP. I'm like, if it takes you 10 years to get to SVP, we are not doing justice to what Art Williams preached. Listen, you should be an RVP in the first 12 months. You should be an SVP in the first 36 months. Like, this system is so big. And so again, if you're sitting down with people that have got the people you want to recruit, stop sitting down and putting, and again, I say this because I went through it. Stop putting people in your box. Stop putting people in your box. Like, man, show them what's out there and available. And if they say, well, you didn't do it. Heck no, I didn't do it. And it's broken. I've screwed it up for the first 5 years. When I started to understand how it should be built, this is the way to do it. You follow this system we're preaching now, and you'll have all your dreams. You'll have everything you want come true. So yeah, admit your question, Mr. Orender. You got to have some big bait for big fish.
Excellent. Make this comment, and then Landon will give you the final word. But Austin, Art Williams, I remember when he came to Dallas, 5 years ago or so, and he talked to one of my RVPs. He said, how long you been in the business? He said, 5 years. He said, oh, you must have 10 to 15 RVPs by now. And it wasn't condemning him. He was saying, well, you got to have 10, 15 RVPs by now, right? Oh, no, just me. And Art gave him a quizzical look and just kind of, okay, which means he's doing it his way, not Art's way. Art's way said you should have 10 to 15. That's what you're saying now, isn't it?
Absolutely. 100%. When I was in the business, Josh always told us, we've heard this on this call before, you better change the people you're around, or you change the people you're around. And we always apply that. I know I always applied that to the people outside of Primerica. I've got to change the people I'm hanging out with outside of Primerica, or I've got to change them to see what I see and believe what I believe and be part of my journey. That applies just as much to people inside of Primerica. But follow me. If you're running around a group of people that don't believe in having RVPs and having it quickly and getting out of this broken system of taking 5 years to get to RVP that I self-inflicted. If you're running around with people like that, you better change those people. You better get some new Primerica friends, or you better change those Primerica friends. And the way you change those Primerica friends is you stay consistent on your message and you make it come to fruition. You get somebody RVP. And again, I told our guys in Landon, and again, my VPs are a great example. Our first VP promoted in 12 months. And I started going, see, this is the new system. Landon promoted essentially 24 months. He was here for 3 years, but that first year, he didn't do anything. It was 24 months of work that got Landon RVP. This is about this is not a 4 or 5 year system. And so if you're hanging out with people saying, congratulations, and you're an RVP, and man, when's your SVP date? Well, 2026. You're the wrong dang office. Like, our goal right now, again, because we believe in multiples, is NSD by next summer. Well, that's just expectations that, again, people believe in Art Williams' philosophies are preaching, right? You get there quick, get people there, get RVPs, have RVPs. I get excited now because we preach so hard the message of the multiples, 3 who get 3, who get 3, who get 3 within the base shop. I'm getting fired up going, oh, this is about to happen with our RVPs. We're about to watch this play out with the 10 first generation RVPs. They each get 3, you got 30 seconds, you got 90 thirds. The multiples start picking up then it gets fun. But again, I think we have to make sure we're preaching the right message and doing it the Art Williams way.
Well, you're preaching to me now, and I'm glad you are, because I love it. I love Art Williams so much. I'm so grateful that he bequeathed to us this system, and to honor and to give us opportunity and hope. And anyone who applies themselves in Art Williams' system succeeds. Tell my base shop today, you have a 0% chance of not making it big. You got a 100% chance of making it if you do the right things long enough. You'll build an empire. If you haven't built an empire, you got to keep doing the right things long enough or start. And Landon will give you the final word. Thank you very much, Austin. This has been great. Landon?
Yeah, to hit on that, when people ask me, what's the success rate in Primerica, or how many people succeed? I say you're 100%. You will succeed 100% of the time if you just don't quit, right? I'd say this. I think one of the toughest things that I've had to learn is that you have to be, and I know that this sounds simple, but you got to be thankful for your people. So often we get frustrated because somebody's not producing the way you want them to produce, but that's just a reflection of that person. They're giving it all they got at that moment. You can't get mad at them for where they're at. You got to be thankful that they're in the business with you, and they're going to get to where they need to get to. It just might not be right that second, right? But there's 3 phases. The first phase is you got to get to RVP, which I'm so thankful for Austin Durrett just having the courage to talk to me, because it has changed me and Emily's life, right? But you got to get to RVP. Phase 2 is right when you get to RVP, our whole focus is to promote RVPs 7 to 10. And then once you get your 7 to 10, you need to help your 7 to 10 go get 7 to 10 RVPs. That's the power behind the system. It's that simple. That's all you have to do. We try to overcomplicate it. Those are the 3 phases. So that's what I got. Thank you so much for letting me talk, Mr. Orender.
This is brilliant. I love it when you quote Art Williams. I love it when you work Art Williams' system, Landon. And no wonder you're successful. No wonder where you went out big, and correctly, by the way, because your numbers come out. But I want to give Pat Frankhauser a shout out. Today's his birthday, so wish Pat a happy birthday along the way. And Austin and Landon, thank you very much. I love it. I love the fact that you honor and respect and are committed to Art Williams' system, because look what's happening when you do. All right, everybody. God bless. Talk to you next week. Bye-bye.
Thanks, Mr. Render.
Thanks, Mr. Orender.